And welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. Last week, I showed you how to make a French sauce that has sort of fallen out of favor. This week, I'm going to show you how to make a French sauce that has never been more popular. It has a reputation for being tricky and labor-intensive, but through the power of modern technology, we are going to make it basically foolproof and almost no effort at all. Hollandaise is one of the 5 French mother sauces. It was invented centuries ago, a very simple sauce as far as ingredients. It's butter, egg yolks, lemon juice, and a little bit of salt. And traditionally involves whisking and whisking and whisking and whisking until your arm falls off. Very labor intensive. It can also overheat very easily and break. A sauce breaks when it's overheated, and when it breaks, the liquids and solids separate and will never come back together. You have to throw it out and make a new one. So those are the reasons why Hollandaise is considered a tricky or difficult sauce to make. However, modern technology has provided us with affordable solutions even for the home cook. It takes a sauce that is traditionally laborious and time intensive and turns it into the model of quick, easy brunch application for guests. There are 2 pieces of gear you'll need in order to make a basically foolproof Hollandaise: a blender and a sous vide water bath. The blender is going to emulsify the sauce much faster than we could do on our own. These didn't exist in the 18th century when Hollandaise was invented, and really, affordable home blenders didn't come about until the latter half of the 20th century. These days, you can get an immersion blender, like what I'm going to be using here today, for about $20, and it works just fine. The other technology, sous vide, didn't even exist until the late 90s or early 2000s. Sous vide is a French term that means under vacuum. The way that sous vide works is you have an immersion circulator. This lets you keep a body of water at a very consistent temperature over a long period of time. This is great if you want to do something like Hollandaise, where it will break if it gets above a certain temperature. Using the sous vide, you can ensure that the temperature of your sauce never goes anywhere near that breaking point. Since we won't be running the risk of bringing the Hollandaise above the temperature at which it will break, we don't need to whisk continuously. We just need to blend it before and after. Blending it before will mix all the ingredients so everything has a chance to cook evenly. Blending it after will be where we get our emulsion. It's a great way to cook a Hollandaise, and it's honestly the only way that I do these days. The other nice thing about these 2 technologies is you can prep your Hollandaise the night before, wake up in the morning, start your water bath, drop your sauce in, and walk away for an hour while you get ready for brunch. When your guests arrive, you remove the sauce, quickly blend it, and then you are ready to serve. On Food and Cooking is Harold McGee's indispensable guide to understanding food. If you really want to understand the science going on in what you cook, you should really pick up this book. In it, he has a section in which he discusses the 5 mother sauces, and he lists no fewer than 5 different methods for creating Hollandaise. I mention this because Hollandaise is not a single one true recipe sort of thing. The recipes vary quite a bit. The one I'm making here today has a 2-to-1 ratio of tablespoons of butter to egg yolks. The recipe in a Julia Childs and Jacques Pepin cookbook starts at 3 tablespoons per egg yolk and goes up to as many as 4 as needed. Hollandaise really is one of those dishes where your cooking method will determine the ingredients to a degree.
Ingredients: 120 mils of butter, 4 egg yolks, 1 lemon, juiced for 15 mils, 30 mils of water, half a teaspoon of salt.
This is the second time that I've said to use egg yolks, so I figure I should probably show you the best way to separate eggs. The best tool for separating an egg is your own 2 bare hands. It does get a little slimy. Make sure to wash your hands before and after. Honestly, the fastest and most foolproof way of doing it. Start with a nice cold egg, crack it, and pour it into your hand. Open your fingers just slightly and pass it hand to hand until you're left with just the yolk. If you can get this little dangly bit, that'll be good because it won't puree with the rest of the egg and can create a weird texture. There we go. Repeat with your other eggs. One thing to remember, don't throw out your egg whites. You can use them for something else. The first thing you need to do is prep your water bath. You can use any large container. I have a 12-quart Canberra that I like to use. Other people will use stock pots or coolers for their sous vide setup. I have this set to 145 degrees. That's the temperature we're going to be cooking our Hollandaise to. It's nowhere near the break point of the sauce. Other recipes call for higher temperatures, closer to 165, 170 degrees. I don't like to go that far because it can break your sauce if you cook it too long or if things go wrong. I found 145 degrees Fahrenheit is foolproof, even if it does take a little bit longer. So with that prepped, set it off to the side, and now we can start combining the ingredients. I know it's called sous vide, and traditionally things are vacuum sealed, but you don't actually need to vacuum seal them in plastic. Any airtight, watertight vessel will work. Our cooking vessel today is going to be just a glass mason jar. I like the wide mouth pints because they're straight walled. To your canning jar, add the butter. Melt your butter in the microwave until it is just melted. You don't want it to get hot, you just want it to turn into a liquid. If there are some solids left, that's okay, they'll blend up just fine. Okay, 15 seconds in the microwave, and that's just perfect. To this, add 2 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, half a teaspoon of salt, and your 4 egg yolks. Then blend until thoroughly combined. You can use a traditional blender. I find that using the immersion blender just makes for a little bit easier cleanup. To cook the Hollandaise, all you have to do is put the lid and band on, just as if you were canning. Screw it on finger tight and drop it in the water bath. It'll likely float unless you're doing a double batch, so find a way to weight it down. I like to use my chef's presses for these. That will keep it immobile and completely submerged. Set your timer for 1 hour, and that's when we'll come back to finally thicken it. While the Hollandaise is cooking, clean your immersion blender because you're going to need it for the next step. After an hour, go ahead and get the can grabber from your canning supplies and pull the sauce out of the hot water bath. Remove the lid from the jar and blend again. And here you can see we have an absolutely perfect consistency. Coats a spoon. That lemon really keeps it from being too rich. I see why the French use Hollandaise as the base for other sauces. It's rich and creamy, but the lemon helps lighten things, keeps it from being just too dense and overwhelming. You can really spice this up however you want. Add different herbs, different seasonings, change the flavor profile, just really work with it and create something that is your own. The most popular way to serve Hollandaise in modern times is Eggs Benedict. I have some here, all it needs is a sauce, and we're good to go. As you can see, my poached eggs need a little work. I'll do a full video on Eggs Benedict once I figure out how to poach eggs a little bit better, and also once I have a recipe for English muffins. And to finish off my Benedict, I like just a little pinch of cayenne. That is really good. It seems a little overkill to be using an egg sauce with eggs, but the Hollandaise is transformed by the addition of the butter and the lemon. It just completely changes it. The egg flavor isn't really the same anymore. So once you mix the yolk from the poached egg there, it sort of dials back into the egg flavor. I need to get better at poaching eggs so that I can do this more. I did Eggs Benedict here. Hollandaise is also great on roasted vegetables like asparagus or broccoli. There are a whole host of options, especially once you start modifying the taste profile. You could make a béarnaise by adding shallots and wine and put it on a steak. It is one of the mother sauces, so feel free to experiment. The French certainly did. Don't hold it sacred. I'm gonna have this other one. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Patreon is coming. This week, I want to give a shout out to my friend Jay, who is always on hand if I need to run some cocktail ideas by him. I ran one by him here because we actually have lemon juice and egg whites left over, which, that's the start of a whiskey sour. I asked him how you would make that a little bit more brunchy, and he suggested turning it into a fizz. Why don't you give that a shot the next time you're having people over for a boozy brunch and making Hollandaise? See you next time. Hollandaise is one of the 5 French mother sauces. How many mother sauces are there? Hey Siri,